Hello and welcome to the program Health for Living on Trust Television. I'm Aisha Salihu. Today we have an important topic to discuss: the prevalence of chronic kidney disease in Nigeria and the way forward. According to recent data and studies, it is estimated that more than 20 million Nigerians are living with chronic kidney disease. No fewer than 20,000 of the number are coming down with end-stage kidney disease, yearly requiring dialysis and transplant to stay alive, according to medical experts. Shockingly, the prevalence of kidney disease in children has also been rising, with an estimated 1 in 10 Nigerian children affected. These statistics highlight the urgent need for awareness, prevention, and appropriate management strategies. Joining us virtually on the program today is an estimated expert in the field who will shed more light on various aspects of this condition. Dr. Bellian Oteri, an internal medicine physician in Dallas City, Texas, in the United States of America. Welcome to the program, Dr. Bellian, and thanks for joining us at this hour on the program.
Thank you.
Now let's dive right in. What would you say is the reason for the alarming statistics of cases, as I've earlier stated?
Well, chronic kidney disease is a progressive condition that reduces the function of the kidney. And basically what the kidney does is to filter out waste from the blood. But when the kidney is not able to do that, we call it chronic kidney disease. Okay. Now, there's often no symptoms when you get to this point. However, early prevention, detection, and diagnosis is what we need to prevent it from getting to the chronic stage.
As much as I okay, go on, please.
So when the kidney has lost 85 to 90% of its function, it's not able to keep anyone alive, not able to do its job. And for that reason, all the waste that are supposed to be filtered out through the kidney from the blood gets stored in.
Apparently, the kidney is an important organ in the body, but then what are the causes and risk factors associated with this disease that has spread across, age, irrespective of gender and social class, especially in Nigeria?
I would start by saying that one of the basic risk factors is dehydration, not drinking enough water. Other reasons, other causes are hypertension, diabetes. Hypertension plus diabetes makes it worse. Overweight and obesity, family history of CKD, use of analgesic like paracetamol and other types. And also herbal medications we have seen that has resulted to a lot of kidney damage.
So if I get you correctly, you're saying drug abuse, family history, and other medical conditions predispose one to this chronic kidney disease, right?
It's important that we know that genetics plays not so much role in kidney disease. However, toxicity from our environment and from diseases like hypertension, diabetes, overweight, obesity, analgesics, and herbal medications, among other toxins like drugs, all of them plays a big role to the cause of kidney damage.
Okay, but now let us explore symptoms, classifications of stages of the disease, and treatment options for the kidney disease.
Now, like I said earlier, with chronic kidney disease, with chronic kidney disease, this is when we see the symptoms. Okay, before we get to the symptoms, let's discuss the stages of kidney disease. There are 5 different stages. The stage 1 is just the normal. There's a lab that we use to measure it, which is the glomerular filtration rate. GFR has to be over 90 milliliter over minute. minute for it to be normal. We know, yeah, the kidney is functioning properly. At stage 2, it's mild chronic kidney disease. It's GFR of 60 to 89. We can manage it, move things around, add some medication to help, ask you to drink a lot of water, hydrate yourself, because the body needs a lot of fluid to be able to function, and for the kidney to be able to function. Now, the stage 3 is the moderate, which is GFR of 45 to 59. When it gets to that point, it becomes alarming. If you have used to seeing your physician often, it's going to help you, put you on the right medication that will help you, and also some life changes. Now, the stage 3 has 3A and 3B. The 3B is literally GFR of 30 to 44. We don't want to see that. And then it goes to severe, which is stage 4, and that is GFR of 15 to 29. When it gets to this point, we are requiring a patient to start, we start thinking about dialysis. And dialysis, most of the time, it's hard for the patient. We see Nigerian population are not able to keep up with their dialysis date and the cost of it. And there are so many facilities not able to, that they don't have a working dialysis. So when it gets to that point, we are, it's quite alarming. We're looking at transplant at that stage. Now, let's look at the symptoms. Symptoms at early stage of like the stage 1 to 3, maybe not really symptoms. You would not know. You'll just be walking around, And but when it gets to stage 4, 3B and 4, we start to see things like frequent or infrequent urination, shortness of breath, swelling of the feet and ankles, cramps, nausea, vomiting, and this is when it's pretty late. It's like stage 4. And at that time, we see that a lot of the patients will need a dialysis.
Thank you so much for that response. But then I'd like to know, how can this chronic kidney disease be prevented? I mean, how does one care for the organ, the kidney?
Aisha, this is a great question. How do we prevent it? Now, let's see how many people on the street know that they have hypertension as a disease, and how many people are accepting that they have hypertension. I've seen patients in Nigeria, and they have hypertension. They will say it's stress. They go and sleep, and they do not want to be on their medication on a daily basis. With hypertension, you have to be controlled. You have to be on a medication. It has to be. See your physician frequently, at least every 3 to 6 months. Make sure that you're using the right medication and make sure that it's controlled. Diabetes is another part of it. We have different ways of measuring stages of diabetes, and we use hemoglobin A1C to measure it. With hemoglobin A1C of 8%, we are expecting that anything could happen. Your kidneys are going to be affected. You could have blindness. You might not be able to heal from your wound. How many people actually know that they have hemoglobin A1C of 8% and above? So those are where we need to start from. Obesity and overweight is another thing that we have seen that have become a high prevalence in Nigeria. A lot of foreign food and a lot of preservative kind of not helping. I mean, this is the problem that we have in the United States, and unfortunately is rolling down to other countries like Nigeria. So if we can control some of this, and then we can now look at analgesic. I see that people feel sick and they just go to the chemist and purchase medication and take. What are you really taking? Are you helping yourself, or are you causing problems to your organs? Remember, the liver and the kidney are what helps with filtration, with toxins. And to take care of the kidney, you need to give it what it needs. And one thing it doesn't need is too many of those medications that are not prescribed by a physician. Another thing that it needs is you need to drink a lot of water. Aisha, another thing that I see going on in Nigeria is a high use of herbal medications. I'm not condemning that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong, but how many of them are being monitored? when do we know that is enough? What are the dosage? So people will literally live on this, and we see that there's been studies that have been done both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, and a lot of high percentage of kidney disease that we see are actually from herbal medications. So we need to create more awareness on that. There has to be public health, it's a public health urgency about herbal medications, especially places like Nigeria.
You did mention different stages of the kidney disease, and then you've also explored symptoms and also the risk factors. But then what would you say are the various treatment options available to battle this chronic kidney disease?
At the early stage, between the stage 1 and 3, we have to explore what is the cause. If it's hypertension, we need to manage that. And once we manage the hypertension or diabetes, the kidney actually fixes itself. The way God made the body, our body actually heals ourselves. So once we take out the risk factor, the kidney gets the chance of healing itself. All right. And if it is a medication that is causing it, we just move things around, remove that particular medication prescription, and replace it with something else. And that takes care of the problem. But when it gets to stage 4 and stage 5, unfortunately, patient will need to start dialysis, because at that stage, the kidney is not able to heal itself. And it has to be dialysis and transplant.
Now, looking at it from, say, the patient's perspective, what happens in an event of a complication, say, before and after treatment has been administered?
So we're going to have to narrow down the complications that you're talking about. Is it complication from a medication? Is it from dialysis? Is it from transplant? Let's take it. Which one do you want me to go first?
Let's say from both dialysis and transplant, or all of it, even medication and all that, because this particular disease is something that is prevalent in the country, and it has contributed to a lot of, I'll say, medical tourism. We'll still go into that later, but then I'd like to know these complications and how they can be managed, right from medication through dialysis and say transplant.
Right. Now, let's start from early kidney damage. With early kidney damage, you don't really expect any complication with medications, because it's most likely there's going to be a root cause of it. And all we need to do is to fix the root cause. Once we do that, the kidney heals itself. Now, what we're going to look at more is complication with dialysis. There are different stages or different procedures that are taken in place before dialysis. If you are in a good center that has a nephrologist, nephrology would have looked at your lab earlier and understood what is going on your body, and we know what to expect. Now, if there is some of the things we do is pre-dialysis, will give you a medication that will actually protect you from going into such crises. And also, for some of them, we also pay attention. You have to be in a good center, though, for you to be able to get this. Now, post-dialysis, we monitor you. You're not going to just do it and go home. We monitor you. We see if you're going into any complication. During a few hours, we will take care of that. Now, when you go home and you have, a crisis, what do? We just ask that you have to come back to to the hospital where the dialysis are being done. The experts there will be able to take care of you. Now, going into transplant. Transplant is it's more severe. It's a lot of protocols that have to be in place before we actually even start. We had to look at the patient, stabilize the patient, make sure that the patient is fit enough for the transplant. Now we have to do patient donor match. We critically evaluate that. And for my program, some of our tests are actually done in the United States at the University of Toledo, Ohio. Just because we want to be as thorough as possible, so we don't make any mistake. And so we do all of that match and do all of that exams, and then we also monitor the donor's health, make sure the donor is stabilized, and then we can go on with the transplant. We have to remember that transplant does not just end in transplant. There are some other medications that the patient needs to be on to prevent failure, kidney failure. Okay, so all of that needs an expert close monitoring for the patient not to go into such complications that you were talking about. Does it really happen could it happen after all of that? Yes, absolutely. But that's where you need close intervention and close communication and associate with the team of doctors.
Thank you so much for that contribution. I'll pick this conversation up with you shortly after the break. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we do return, we'll continue our conversation with Dr. Bellian Oteri, an internal medicine physician in Dallas City, Texas, in the United States of America. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you're just joining in, this is the program Healthy Living on Trust Television, where we have been exploring perspectives about the prevalence of chronic kidney disease in Nigeria. And I have been speaking with Dr. Bellian Oteri, who is still on standby to help us, navigate further perspectives on this particular disease. I understand you talked about kidney transplant and all of the dynamics associated with it. But then I'd like to know, let us talk about the fact that the disease has contributed to medical tourism. You did talk about how it has been catered for in the United States of America, where you are presently. But then a lot of Nigerians, especially for those who can afford it, have gone abroad. Some people explore India and other countries, even the United States, to access treatment, especially for those who are in the chronic stages of the disease, where they have to explore transplant or dialysis before transplant. I'd like to know, how do you think we can mitigate this, looking at our situation in Nigeria at the moment, for those who cannot afford this expense of traveling abroad? There are lots of people who do not belong to the upper class, and then sometimes they have to raise the awareness on social media, where there is GoFundMe for kidney transplant and all that. What would you suggest? How do you think we can mitigate this so we can curb medical tourism?
Actually, that's a great question. First of all, it's really sad how a lot of people just die from these diseases, this kidney disease and so many other diseases in Nigeria. When we have, what we have in Nigeria and what the level of medical specialists and medical professionals that we have. In United States alone, we know that Nigeria make up almost 40% of the medical doctors in America, and it's very sad and very, very pathetic to see what is going on in Nigeria. What do we do? How do we go from there? We are asking the federal government to commit more with some of the aspiring doctors that are willing to come and give back to the country, to help them and make this possible. We actually have a program. I know that the Association of Nigerian Physicians in America has this advocacy that they do with the federal government, for the federal government to partner with them so we can bridge the gap that is needed in Nigerian healthcare so that the common man can afford this thing. And also, I do have another program that I do with the state governors, and I have reached out with some of the new elected governors to partner with us. That way we can subsidize things like kidney transplant for this patient and to be able to afford it. At the moment, as we speak, Aisha actually have a patient from Enugu, and she is in Nisa Premier Hospital at the moment. We're working her up for kidney transplant. It's a 40-year-old woman. She's a very, very young lady with 4 children. So if the federal government and the state government can actually partner with us, that will help a lot to mitigate this.
But then again, you did talk about collaboration of the federal government to Nigerian doctors that are abroad, because we understand that Nigeria is currently battling brain drain, where medical professionals would rather travel abroad to go and use their expertise over there instead of in Nigeria, where they have gained this knowledge. Well, you did talk about the collaboration of the federal government and some of the medical experts who are abroad and are willing to come back to Nigeria. But then the country is finding a way around, mitigating this brain drain, but we still have the challenge. You're saying some doctors are willing to collaborate with the federal government, but then we still have the challenge where some medical professionals would rather travel abroad. How do you see that?
I have to tell you, I've lived in America for over 20 years, and when you live abroad for a long time, you hunger for home. A lot of us that have been outside for over 25 years hunger to do something at home. We wish that things can be better, and when we remember our early beginning, we feel like we can have that again. It's not very easy living abroad, no matter how comfortable you are. Home is home, no matter how you look at it. So now can we really prevent the fresh doctors going abroad or the people going abroad? No, because there's something that is making them to go abroad. The facilities are not what it should be, and the training they're getting is not what it should be, and their pay is pathetic. It's actually shameful for me to mention that how much Nigerian doctors earn. So it can't stop that. The problem has to be fixed from the root. So with the medical with the Jabba syndrome going on, it's beyond me. But with some of us that have been abroad, that comes to that, literally, I come with a group every year, sometimes twice a year, for a free medical mission, and we do surgeries and so many other medical health interventions. we hunger for home. We want to see change. We want to do things. So I think that's the area that I can actually talk about. With the help of the federal government and the state government, there's so much we can do. There's so many things we can change. And to be sincere, Aisha, when these people living in the country today sees how things are changing in Nigeria, they will, even if they don't relocate, they will be coming to help out. And that's what India has done, actually. They don't go back and start living back at home, but they go back and invest on medical, and they actually start to change the dynamic of medical tourism. You know, we call it reversing medical tourism. And I have a program that we are running at the moment. That's the goal that we have, and that will happen eventually.
But very quickly, before we go, I'm afraid we're running out of time. Just walk me through the advancement in technology and the way forward in treating the chronic kidney disease, especially in Nigeria.
Because I don't practice in Nigeria, it would be hard for me to talk about that. So I might not be able to walk you through that. But with what we do, my program, with what we do, we working with Nigerian hospitals like NISA Medical Group to make sure that we have a good dialysis center. And for the patient that need transplant, we work them up. And like what I said about my patient, a patient that is there at the moment, so we collaborate with them and work up the patient. And my colleague, Dr. Obi Ekwena from Ohio, comes in. He's a transplant surgeon, and he comes in and he does the surgery when everything is set. And this is we want to do more. We want to do at least 10 transplants from each state of Nigeria. That's our goal. But without the help of the Nigerian government, the federal and the state, the patient cannot afford it alone. You know, we are also working with some NGOs that are doing fundraising. We need the federal government to be able to help us, and the state government for sure.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bellian Otari, who is an internal medicine physician in Dallas City, Texas, in the United States of America.
Thank you, Aisha.
That concludes our discussion on chronic kidney disease in Nigeria. We hope that this program has provided valuable insights and raised awareness about this prevalent health issues. And also, we do hope that in subsequent episodes of the program, we'll be exploring more perspectives on kidney transplant and surgery. For comments, contribution, and suggestions on this episode, subscribe and follow us across all of our social media platforms. Join us again on another episode of the program, Healthy Living on Trust Television. I'm Aisha Salihu. Thanks for watching.